My phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. It was Amanda. "Emma, please, you have to call me back. Please. I'm begging you." I stared at the screen for a long moment. 3 days earlier, that same voice had called me a beggar in front of our entire family. Now she was the one begging. I set the phone face down on the counter and didn't answer. "Let me back up. My name is Emma. I'm 31 years old, and I work as a senior financial analyst at an investment firm downtown. I make good money, better than most people in my family know, because I've never seen the point in flaunting it. I drive a 7-year-old Honda. I live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment. I bring store-bought pie to family dinners instead of ordering from the expensive bakery, because why would I spend more than I need to? My sister Amanda is 2 years older than me, and for as long as I can remember, she has been the sun our family orbits around. Amanda got the bigger bedroom growing up. Amanda got the car for her 16th birthday, while I was told to save up and buy your own. It'll teach you responsibility. Amanda got the wedding my parents took out a loan for. I got a card that said, 'So happy for you,' and a hug that lasted exactly 2 seconds. I stopped keeping score a long time ago. Or, at least, I told myself I had. For years ago, Amanda called me crying. Her husband Rick didn't know it yet, but she'd racked up almost $87,000 in credit card debt, shopping, investments, in schemes that never worked out, a lifestyle that outpaced their actual income by a wide margin. She begged me not to tell anyone, especially Rick. "If he finds out, he'll leave me, Emma. You're the only one who can fix this." So I did what I always do. I helped. I set up automatic transfers. Every month, quietly, without a word to anyone, money moved from my account to chip away at Amanda's debt. Over 4 years, I had personally paid down more than $41,000 of it. Not because I had to, because I loved my sister, and because I believed, foolishly, that it would eventually be enough to make her see me as more than the family afterthought. I never told a single person. Not my parents. Not my friends. Not even Amanda's husband, who to this day believed his wife was simply bad with budgeting and not drowning in secret debt that his sister-in-law was quietly bailing her out of. I thought that kind of loyalty meant something. I was wrong. Thanksgiving at my parents' house always follows the same script. My mother overcooks the turkey. My father falls asleep in front of the football game by 4 o'clock. And Amanda makes sure, in some small way, that everyone remembers who the favorite child is. This year, she outdid herself. We were all seated around the table, my parents, Amanda, Rick, my aunt, and uncle, a few cousins. Someone made an offhand comment about the economy, about how expensive everything had gotten. Amanda saw her opening. "Speaking of money," she said, swirling her wine with a little smile, "Emma, how's that going for you? Still living in that tiny apartment?" I felt my stomach tighten. "It's fine, Amanda. I like my apartment." Right. She turned to the table like she was letting everyone in on a joke. "It's just Emma's always been kind of tight with money, you know? Like, secretly broke tight." A few uncomfortable chuckles. My mother didn't correct her. My father didn't even look up from his plate. "I'm not broke," I said quietly. "Oh, come on." Amanda laughed, and it was that laugh, the one she'd perfected since childhood, light and musical and designed to make me sound like I was overreacting. "You're always so weird about spending anything on yourself. It's honestly a little sad. Like, get a real job that pays more. Maybe you wouldn't have to pinch every penny." I gripped my fork. For years. $41,000. Every automatic payment I'd made had come out of the salary from that real job. She was mocking. "Amanda." "I'm just saying." She cut me off, raising her hands like she was being so generous with her honesty. "Some of us actually manage our lives instead of, I don't know, begging everyone to notice how hard we have it. You always act like such a victim, Emma. It's exhausting." The table went silent. Then my aunt said, "Well, she's not wrong, Emma. You have been a little dramatic lately." And my mother nodded along like this was simply an accepted fact about me. Nobody defended me. Not one person. I sat there, holding 4 years of silent sacrifice in my chest, while my sister called me a beggar to a table full of people I'd protected her secret from. I smiled tightly, said I wasn't feeling well, and left before dessert. In the car, I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone to vent. I just sat in the driveway, engine running, and thought about every dollar, every quiet transfer, every time I told myself it was worth it because family means something. By the time I got home, I'd made a decision. I opened my banking app, and one by one, I canceled every single automatic payment I'd set up for Amanda's debt. For 2 days, nothing happened. I went to work. I answered emails. I told myself I'd done the right thing and tried not to think about it. Then, on the 3rd day, my phone started buzzing. First, it was a text from my mother. "Have you talked to your sister? Something's wrong." Then, a missed call from Amanda. Then another. Then a voicemail, her voice tight and panicked in a way I'd never heard before. "Emma, I don't understand what's happening. My card got declined at the grocery store, and then Rick opened a letter from the credit company, and he's asking me questions, and I don't know what to tell him. Please call me back." I sat with that voicemail for a long moment before I understood what had actually happened. Here's what Amanda never knew. I hadn't just been making minimum payments to keep her afloat. I had structured those transfers specifically to intercept the debt before it ever showed up as a problem, paying certain accounts directly, keeping others current so no red flags ever reached Rick's inbox or triggered a call to their shared accounts. It was a quiet, invisible scaffolding holding up a version of her life that didn't actually exist without me. The moment I canceled it, gravity came back. Missed payments triggered automated calls to the house phone, the one Rick actually answered. Overdue notices started arriving addressed to both their names. A collections agency, tired of being ignored, called Rick directly at his office. I hadn't planned any of this as revenge. I told myself, when I canceled those payments, that I was simply done being taken advantage of. But watching the truth surface on its own, without me lifting a finger to expose her, felt like something closer to justice than anything I could have engineered myself. That evening, my mother called me, her voice shaking. "Emma, did you know about this? $87,000? Rick just found the paperwork. He's talking about a separation. He's talking about lawyers." I didn't know she still owed that much, I said carefully. It wasn't technically a lie. I hadn't known the exact number recently, only that it existed, and that I'd spent 4 years quietly making sure nobody else had to. How could she hide something like that? My mother said. How could she let this happen to her marriage? I almost laughed. 2 days ago, this same woman had sat silently while Amanda called me a beggar. Now she wanted to know how someone could hide financial trouble and let it destroy trust in their own family. I said nothing about the $41,000. Not yet. That was the turn. Not a will, not a lawyer, not a hidden inheritance. Just the truth, finally allowed to exist without me shielding it. And for the first time in 4 years, I realized the power had never been in the money I gave. It had been in the silence I kept. I decided I wasn't keeping it anymore. 2 days after Rick found the paperwork, he called me. I almost didn't pick up. Rick and I had never been close, mostly polite small talk at holidays, but something told me this call mattered. "Emma," he said, his voice low and careful. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Okay." Amanda's accountant friend mentioned something last night. About payments. Recurring transfers into the account tied to her old credit line. "From you." He paused. "Is that true?" I could have lied. For years ago, I would have. I would have protected Amanda instinctively, the way I always had, because that's who I'd trained myself to be, the quiet fixer, the invisible safety net. But I thought about the table at Thanksgiving. The laughter. Get a real job. Nobody defending me. "Yes," I said. "It's true. I've been paying down her debt for 4 years. A little over $41,000. Silence on the line. Then, quietly. "Why would you do that?" "Because she asked me to. Because she said if you found out, you'd leave her, and she begged me to help her fix it before anyone knew." I thought I was protecting your marriage, Rick. I thought I was protecting her. "She let me think we were just bad at budgeting," he said. "She let me think it was fixable. She let your family believe you were the one always asking for handouts, while you were the one keeping us from going under." "I know. I have to ask," he said. "Is there any way you'd consider continuing to help, just until we figure out?" "No." I said, and it came out steadier than I expected. I'm done, Rick. Not because of you. Because of what happened at that table. I spent 4 years protecting a version of Amanda that doesn't exist. I'm not doing it anymore. I didn't send angry texts. I didn't post anything. I didn't call a single family member to explain myself or defend my name. I simply let the silence I'd broken keep doing its work. Within a week, Rick had gone through their joint accounts with a lawyer. He discovered not just the extent of the original debt, but new charges Amanda had made in the weeks after Thanksgiving, as if some part of her assumed, on some level, that Emma would always be there to clean it up eventually. There wouldn't be an eventually this time. Rick moved into his brother's place to think things through. Word spread through the family fast, not because I told anyone, but because Amanda, desperate and unraveling, told my mother everything in a tearful phone call, trying to get ahead of the story before people heard it wrong. Except this time, the story wasn't wrong. It was simply true. And for the first time in my life, my family heard the version of events where I wasn't the problem. Amanda showed up at my apartment on a Tuesday evening, unannounced. I opened the door and found her standing there, eyes swollen, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. She sat on my couch, the same couch she'd once called so sad, "Emma, when are you going to actually invest in nice furniture?" and stared at her hands. "Rick wants a separation," she said. My accountant told him everything. About the debt. About you. "I know." He called me. Her head snapped up. "You told him it was $41,000? I told him the truth. Same as I'm telling you now." "How could you do this to me?" Her voice cracked, somewhere between grief and disbelief. "I trusted you. I told you that in confidence. You canceled the payments without even warning me. Do you remember Thanksgiving?" I asked quietly. She blinked, thrown off by the shift. "What does that have to do with? You called me a beggar. In front of everyone. You said I was always tight with money, that I needed a real job, that I acted like a victim. You said it like a joke, and everyone laughed, and nobody, not one person, said a word in my defense." I kept my voice level. "That same week, I had paid your electric bill, your minimum payments on 3 different cards, and covered the shortfall on your mortgage. With money from the job you mocked." Amanda's face went pale. "I didn't mean it like that. It was just dinner conversation. I was just teasing." "You've been just teasing since we were kids, Amanda. I used to think it was harmless. Then I sat at that table and realized you'd built an entire personality around making me small, while I was quietly making sure your life didn't fall apart. So, this is revenge?" Her voice rose, the old defensiveness creeping back in. "You're punishing me because I hurt your feelings?" "No," I said. "I'm done rescuing someone who thinks rescuing me is a punchline. There's a difference." She started crying in earnest then, the kind of crying that used to make me fold instantly, offer comfort, take the blame just to make the discomfort stop. "Please," she said. "I'll lose everything. Rick, the house. Please, Emma, help me fix this. I'm your sister." I felt something in my chest that surprised me. Not triumph. Not even anger anymore. Just quiet, steady clarity. "You are my sister," I said. "And I love you. But I'm not your safety net anymore. What happens next is yours to carry." She left without another word. It's been 4 months since that Tuesday evening. Amanda and Rick's separation became final last month. She moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment, smaller than mine, the one she used to call so sad. She sold her car to cover legal fees. Word around the family is she's been picking up shifts at a retail store to make ends meet while she works out a repayment plan with collections on her own, without a hidden safety net quietly catching her every fall. My mother called me a few weeks ago, her voice careful in a way it had never been before. "I didn't know," she said, "about everything you did for her, about what you gave up so quietly for so long." "I know," I said. "It's okay." "Is it though?" I thought about that for a moment. It will be. I still see Amanda at family gatherings sometimes. The dynamic is different now, quieter, more honest. She doesn't joke about my apartment or my car anymore. Sometimes she looks at me like she wants to say something and doesn't, I don't fill that silence for her anymore either. As for me, I still work the same job. I still drive the same car. I still bring the same store-bought pie to dinner. But something fundamental shifted the night I opened that banking app and, one by one, stopped carrying a weight that was never mine to hold alone. I used to think loyalty meant disappearing into someone else's needs until there was nothing left of me to protect. I know better now. Real loyalty doesn't ask you to stay quiet while someone humiliates you at the very table you're secretly keeping standing. I spent 4 years being Amanda's silent safety net. The one thing she never accounted for was what would happen the day I finally let go.